Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast, where we focus our lens on business. We will cover the art of business and everything in between. Join your host, Rob Moorman, a seasoned photographer and RV park owner with over 27 years of experience, as he captures insights from industry experts and fellow entrepreneurs. From mastering customer service to igniting creativity, we explore the common threads that weave through successful businesses. Get ready to click, snap, and discover on the Camera Dude Podcast.
Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast. I'm Rob Moorman, your host and Camera Dude. Hey, join us as we dive into all things business and life. Let's get started. Hey, gang. Today's guest is an amazing dad, husband, business owner, and top-notch attorney. He's also one of my longest-standing portrait clients and, of course, a great friend. Welcome, Rich McKyton from McKyton Law here in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Oh, hey, Rob. Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Good. I'm glad to have you, actually. It's been a long time coming, and gosh, Rich, we met, let's see, how old is your oldest?
He is 5301. He'll be 24 coming up in May.
So we met 24 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Because your wife, Kathy, was pregnant with him while we were networking at Network Professionals. And you're still in MPI, right?
Have been, yep, ever since.
Me too. It gets spoken about a lot on this podcast simply because,
It works. Yeah.
I joined in 99.
Yeah.
So, and people...
I was 2002, actually.
2002, so not long after. And we were in the same chapter for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So listen, before we get started, just tell our listeners about you, your family, hobbies, how you came to be one of St. Pete's most respected lawyers, and what your mission is.
Let's see, I'm 54 years old. I've got 2 adult kids. I've been an attorney here in Pinellas County since, I graduated May of 95, sworn in by the bar in September of 95. And I've been practicing here ever since. I was a prosecutor for several years. I've been in private practice since 2001.
Wow.
My practice is almost exclusively personal injury and criminal defense, and I tell everybody it's exactly what it sounds like. As far as hobbies and things I do a lot of exercising. Running is a big deal for me. I've been doing it forever. Great stress relief, and I just like it. So
Awesome. Well, running is good. Do you run with your kids when they're here?
When they were smaller, I did because they wanted to do it, but they exercise a lot, but they don't do any running. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't run unless I'm on fire, just so you know.
That's good to know, yeah.
I have been power walking a lot the last 4 months.
That's good for you, too.
So I'm hitting the 10,000 steps a day.
Yep.
And half the time I do about 6,000 of them just working.
Yeah.
If I'm on location. But
good for you.
The hard part is, it's it. Did you say you were a St. Pete native?
No, I was actually born in New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
Moved to Southwest Florida when I was 10. And then basically grew up down there in Naples.
Okay.
And then went to high school down there. And then from there, University of Florida in 88. Graduated in 92. And then started Stetson the following year, College of Law.
Awesome.
And then graduated in 95. So
Stetson's a great place. I have, as a photographer, been able to serve them for, it's probably been 18, 19 years ago. But they were a big client of ours for a long time. In commercial business, the person that hired us all the time got promoted to another campus, and the new person came in. They had their own Rolodex, so to speak, and, baby went out with the bathwater, as they say.
I get it. I do.
Yeah, that happens a lot in business. Well, first question. We met, as we mentioned. I joined in 99, so when you joined was the first time we kind of connected. What do you remember about that time and how networking helped your firm now that it's all these years later?
First thing I remember, I can still remember seeing it actually. That networking group, NPI, was at the was called Tucson's up on Ulmerton Road.
Yes, I was
It's
there.
not Tucson's anymore.
No.
I forget what it is now, and I remember walking into the room and there was probably 25, 28 people in there, good full room. And I remember thinking to myself, there isn't one other lawyer in the room. And I've learned, obviously through networking, that is the best scenario you can be in.
Yes.
I've done 100 other things with like lawyer groups, trial lawyers, and the Florida Bar and the St. Pete Bar Association. Those things are all good, but they're frankly not great networking opportunities because you're in a room full of a bunch of other lawyers who are looking for the exact same thing you're looking for.
Right.
So as far as networking ideas and philosophy, I love the idea of going somewhere where I'm going to meet people different than me. I don't care what it is, just something that is different than me. And MPI was great for that.
Now, would you say, something popped in my head while you were talking, MPI is perfect for that, by the way, because it's seat specific. And that means one lawyer, one photographer, one realtor joins, and no one else can fill that seat. You could have a commercial realtor and a residential, but so that's important. I would say that maybe a room full of lawyers with no potential clients would be good networking, because you may do something another lawyer can't do, or they're just too busy to take on a project, or they want you to join them on a really big project.
And there is value in that.
Okay.
For me, my still favorite places to be, though, are places where I'm the only lawyer. Well, there's only a couple lawyers in the room. It just works better.
That's where the most money comes from, right? Our clients. So I can see that. Well, that's good to know that. Are you in any other networking associations?
No, NPI's been the one. I'm in like the Chamber of Commerce, and I don't really consider that a networking group. And then like the St. Pete Bar Association, trial lawyers, that kind of stuff. But I don't really consider those networking like I do like NPI. So.
Okay, very good. Well, another question I have, it's very similar, but I'm reading right from my notes. How has networking changed over the years for you? Do you still see it as a valuable entity in today's digital first world? Because a lot of my young peers in the industry discount face-to-face networking because they have digital opportunities. But what I'm finding is I'm young enough to have jumped on that bandwagon, but shake their hands first and then connect with them again on social media afterwards. What is your thoughts?
I think you're right on the money with that. I still think there's big value in face-to-face meetings, shaking somebody's hand, sizing somebody up, learning about them face-to-face. The follow-up stuff, with whether it be digital stuff or whatever, social media, I think is really good too. But I still put a lot of value in the face-to-face meetings of people and actually talking to people and that kind of stuff. That does the best for me. I know that.
Moorman Photo was built on relationships. So I always fear when someday if I go to sell, that relationship with us, it's with Rob Moorman and Tina Moorman, right? And so how do you transfer that? It's a tough thing.
It is. And I know people that have sold businesses, and I'm like, for me anyway, my business is me. That's it. And I don't know how I could ever... I don't see how anyone would want to buy that.
And
what would they do with it?
How would they duplicate you, and do they want to?
Exactly.
What is their style? What are they looking to do? I could see that a lot.
Yeah.
That's funny. What advice would you give business owners who feel uncomfortable networking and, of course, selling themselves, which I see a lot today?
Look, when I first started doing any type of networking, I was uncomfortable. I can still remember that when I first opened my practice, I was a young lawyer, only a few years out of law school. I had 2 small kids and a mortgage and all those types of things that everyone deals with. And I had to get out there and get my name out there. And it was hard to do. And I was not comfortable doing it. I speak very well in front of people, but still, in a room full of people I don't know, it can be uncomfortable. I forced myself to do it. And I would tell anybody, especially if you're starting your own business, if you're new into some sort of business, get uncomfortable. Make yourself do the uncomfortable things. They work. It won't feel great all the time, but it actually works. Make yourself do the uncomfortable stuff.
So feel the pain, get the gain kind of a thing.
I agree.
And step up. And I would say that after a while, it became easy.
It did.
Because you do it all the time.
And now it is. Frankly, it's easy. I can walk into any room and meet 30 people I don't know and shake hands and smile and meet them and hear about them and they hear about me. And you never know. You might get some business from it, or you meet a friend, or you need their services. That's how I met you. So it works that way.
Well, I'm going to give them a plug. That wasn't the plan. Network Professionals Incorporated, npiflorida.org. And there's also NPI Business Builders that you can find. Look for Michelle Bullard's area, the South St. Pete District. That's Omerton South, as she owns that region, if you will, and has all of her chapters. It's a very vibrant group of networkers. I like NPI because it's not nationwide. It is big, and they are in other areas. But it's a little more personal, I think. Don't you agree?
Yep.
That's why I took it on. Because some of the other ones were about numbers and nothing else and no relationships and all. In networking, I like to say that you're not paying to get referrals when you pay your membership. You're paying for a structured opportunity to build relationships, but you still have to do your part.
Yeah, it gives you a space to do it. Okay. It gives you an opportunity. You have to actually make the most of that opportunity and meet those people and try to use their services when you can. And hopefully they'll reciprocate and you build those relationships. And that's why you do it. But yeah.
So for our listeners, again, it seems like every podcast, it's all about relationships. And those that I see, if we go back through all my episodes that are successful, it's because they've built relationships and they're standing on that foundation. So next question, I'm going to read it. Can you share an example of a lasting relationship or opportunity that came directly from a networking group or referral?
One of my very first referrals in NPI, I think probably the first actually, was from you.
Okay.
You had a friend from your church, actually, I believe, who was in a really, really horrible car accident.
Yes.
Her and her daughter on I-4. And that was the first really big opportunity for me on my own, starting my own practice. It was a very substantial case. There was a lot to it. We were able to work the case and get a good result for the case. We were able to use your services as well to help us document, photographically, injuries and destruction, all kinds of stuff, which was really good evidence for us. Yeah. So that was the very first opportunity. That was my first referral, I believe, with NPI was you.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that, actually.
I'm almost positive that is the case. So.
Okay, good. Well, I was blessed to be a part of that. And the husband of the wife has passed. He's gone now, but she's still around. I see her at church, and she is walking and talking because of what you did. She got the therapy that she needed to get back into life, and she's living strong, actually.
Good for her. She went through an awful lot. I remember that thing like it was yesterday.
Yeah, it was crazy. Well, for me, to reciprocate, it's you guys. One of the biggest and longest standing referrals I've had in the portrait realm of my studio. As everybody knows, we do commercial work and events, but for portraiture, your wife, I'm going to get her in trouble, but she said, don't tell my husband what I spend here. I'm kidding. She didn't actually say
She
that.
probably did, actually.
No, she didn't. But she absolutely, we fell in love with your kids, your family, and I always say I'd like to have somebody cry on my podcast. It might be me, because I couldn't have kids, and so all of these kids that have been coming here their whole life, we've gotten to know really well.
Yeah.
And from an outside looking in, you just love them, and you want to make sure they do well, and so we're always out there on social media cheering them all on, and so on.
It's fun, too. When I come into your place every now and then, I still see a couple of photos of my kids on your walls from when they were little, and they're in their 20s now, so it's neat for me, too. So.
Which means I need to change my samples.
No, I like them right where they're at. So.
All right, I'll leave them there. Well, with the digital realm now, I change everything online. And what's in the studio, I laugh. I told my wife, if I ever retire, I'm taking all these portraits home and hanging them. They're not our people, but I look at them every day. So that's awesome. All right. So let's see. What inspired you to specialize in your area of law? And tell us what you specialize in. What have you?
I do two things. I'm a personal injury lawyer and a criminal defense lawyer. And like I said before, it's exactly what it sounds like. Personal injury is representing people that get hurt because somebody else did something wrong. Most of those are car accidents. I've also represented people in slip and fall scenarios, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse. One of the bigger areas I've gotten into recently involves injuries from lithium-ion batteries. If you see like e-bikes and e-scooters, the batteries that are involved in these things are super powerful, can be very dangerous. We've had a number of cases in the last couple of years, really substantial ones too, where people have been really, really hurt by these things.
Wow.
So that's been a big focus of my practice these days. And then the other part of my practice is criminal defense work, which is representing people that get in trouble. They've been arrested for something or charged with a crime or, God forbid, this in the county jail. So those really the two areas that I do, and I've kept it to that for a long period of time. And I've always liked, and I've explained it in an NPI meeting today, a lot of what I do and what I enjoy is when people come to see me, they've usually got a very big issue or problem that they're dealing with. If maybe got a family member in jail or a family member who's been through a horrible accident, and it's a really big issue. There's all kinds of pieces to it. There's all kinds of issues they got to deal with, and they need help figuring those issues out, making that really big problem as small and manageable as you can. Is really what a good attorney does in a lot of situations. I mean, if you watch television, the movies, it's always, I'm going to get the person off, whatever, they're going to be found not guilty. Those things happen, but a lot of what we do is taking big problems and trying to make them as small and manageable as possible.
So maybe they were guilty, and you're lessening the blow.
Exactly.
And making sure that the judge is being reasonable.
Exactly.
And all of that. Or maybe the police that brought him in was out of line.
Making sure everybody played by the rules.
Right.
Okay. And then also making sure that whatever the sentence might be in a criminal case, that it's fair based upon all of the circumstances, not just what the prosecution might be saying or the police might be saying, but all of the facts, all of the circumstances. Make sure there's a fair and reasonable outcome for that person.
I love that. That's important. And I've known other people that you've helped and also pulled that through so that things weren't as bad as they could have been and so on. So I'm always glad to send a referral your way for that. So I did prison ministry for 21 years. I don't know if you knew that.
You told me that before, yeah.
And Kairos, Kairos Prison Ministries. Anybody listening, it's just kairos.org. Their national office is in Orlando. But I spent basically 20 of those 21 years at Polk County as a volunteer.
Yeah.
And we would go in and put on a 3-day retreat. It was actually a 3.5-day retreat. It's a long story, but what I found is not everybody in prison are these really horrible people like you see in the movies. I went in, and I won't mention names, but it was somebody in my industry. I go there to serve, and he's coming to the chapel to attend this thing and learn and better himself and whatever. And he said in 2008, when the market crashed, his studio was failing. He kind of moved a little money around and was going to put it back, and he got caught, and there he was, nicest guy you ever met.
Yep.
What I think what you do and what we did was that on the other end of this crime that happened is actually a human being, and under that other human is maybe a spouse and children, and now there's a dad or a mom not in the picture, and now it's a single income family and all of that. So sure, the person may have created the situation, but now that it's here, how can we soften the blow and try to make this family whole again? And I think you're doing that. It's more than just legal law and money and all of that. It's pretty in-depth. That's awesome. Well, all right, what do you love most about being a lawyer and working with clients?
Fixing things. A lot of what we do is it's almost like a puzzle, okay? If you get a particular case, and I'll give you an example. I've worked on I was talking about lithium-ion batteries. We had a case that we just finished up earlier this year. It took about 2 years. And it involved a lithium-ion battery from an e-bike that blew up a boat, okay?
Wow. Really
Decimated a family. And it was a lot of fact-finding and a lot of finding the pieces, okay? Because at the end of this thing, this boat had all the evidence of what happened, and the entire thing was a fireball by the end of it. Everything was burned out.
Wow.
The boat was burned to just pieces.
That's scary.
And it was out on the water. So we had to basically pull the boat out of the water. We had to start going through all the different pieces of the boat. It's a 70-foot boat, so there's tons of wreckage in it and tons of pieces of what happened and what caused it and where's the evidence for it? It took weeks to figure it all out, to find all the little bits and pieces. And then once we find the bits and pieces, now we're going to start putting it all together to say, this is what caused the problem. This is what caused the fire. And then we had to go back and recreate some of this stuff too. So a lot of the, putting the puzzle together, I find personally very interesting. And it was fun to not only put it all together and then actually make it work. And we could prove what we were saying happened and recreate it and then actually, help out this family as best we could who went through basically a tragedy. But that's what I enjoy doing.
And that's awful. Let me just ask you this. You can only share so much, but when I hear those batteries and they blow, there's usually water involved?
Yeah, a lot of them are. Those things... The thing about these batteries are, first of all, they are highly effective, okay? They pack a lot of energy, a lot of punch. They're really good because they can hold a charge for a very long period of time, and they can hold a lot of charge for a very long period of time.
Okay.
And they can be reused a number of times. So there's a lot of, for industries that use them, there are some benefits to them. I totally get that. The thing that I've seen in diving into this stuff is they don't necessarily warn about the inherent dangers of these things. Okay. And one of them is water, and most particularly is salt water. A lot of these battery casings, they hold about 15 or 20 batteries cells the size of like D batteries. Okay. And a pack will be about 2 feet long, about 6 inches wide, and hold about 24 or 28, maybe 32 of these individual batteries.
Wow.
And they are super powerful. The problem you get is once salt water hits these things, the casings aren't waterproof. The salt water goes right to the batteries, and they basically, the salt in the salt water forms bonds between the batteries, which cause them to heat up, which cause a fire, which basically causes an explosion.
Wow.
Yeah. And what we saw was no one's really warning people about this stuff or telling them what to do if your battery gets exposed to salt water. And they're basically bombs at that point. Get rid of them. Don't ever keep one. If you have a lithium-ion battery, it hits salt water, get rid of it. You have to get rid of it. Don't try to save it. Don't try to reuse it. Don't try to recharge it. It is no longer safe.
Okay.
So,
Thanks. The PSA, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, we had that, as my listeners know, they know that we have Sunburst RV Resort, and we had a situation, and I won't mention names, but a family left their dog in the camper and went out to eat. It's normal activity. The camper's plugged in, air conditioner's running, all of that. It's like a mini home. Well, the dog got hold of a vape, started chewing on it, and got into that battery. And it exploded, and sadly, the dog didn't make it, and it burned up the inside of that RV pretty good.
Yep.
And of course, as a business owner, I'm panicking, going, do I need to call Rich? Because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But it was their vape, their dog, they left it inside, and that was, all on them. Luckily, we had a great manager. We still do now, but the manager at the time went in and took the dog for them so they didn't have to see it like that. And we did a little burial for them out in the woods by the park and all. But what a tough situation that is.
Your example brings up a really good point. A vape is really a small thing. It's like 3-4 inches big, right?
Right.
Yeah. Think how small that is. And the battery's even smaller than that. Yeah. And that little tiny battery killed an animal, burned out the inside of a camper. Now, the battery packs and the battery cells we see on like an e-bike or an e-scooter are like 100 times the size of that, and probably 100 times more powerful. So you puncture one of those, you chew one of those and damage it, the fire that comes out of these things it's mind-boggling, frankly.
Well, I'll stop chewing on my e-bike.
Don't do
battery.
that. Yeah, that's a bad idea.
It's too big. They do scare me. I have a e-scooter and an e-bike, and I have these batteries on them. I used to worry about having gas. I shouldn't tell you this because you've seen many motorcycle accidents, but I do have a motorcycle.
Those scare me too.
I know they do. They scare me. If they didn't scare me, I shouldn't ride. But that is the key is I was always worried about the fuel in the tank being in my garage because it's connected. Mm-hmm. Well, now I have an e-bike and an e-scooter in there, and I thought, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm going to move them to the shed. What do you think?
Better than keeping it inside your house or inside the garage, absolutely.
Okay.
And it's interesting. Of those two examples, the gas tank and the e-batteries, which one do you think is more dangerous? It's not the gas tank.
It's the e-battery.
It's the e-battery.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Gosh. All right. So we kind of went over this, but I'll read it. Number 7 here. You've helped clients through some tough cases, accidents, injuries, and major claims. What's one story, of course, no names or anything, that reminds you of why you do what you do? Tell us a success story. I mean, we mentioned one in the beginning, but there's got to be others where someone was just down and out. And,
I've got a good example. This is probably almost 20 years ago. I represented a young man who was 17 at the time, okay? And he was accused of him and a couple of buddies breaking into a neighbor's house, which is bad enough, okay? Mm-hmm. But then they grabbed a couple of firearms while they're in there and ammunition.
Well, that's not good.
As a rule of thumb, you take any criminal activity here in the state of Florida, or pretty much any state, and you add a firearm to it. It enhances the penalties, it enhances the charge, it makes everything worse, okay? So he was about to get charged with armed burglary. Even though he didn't walk in there with a gun, he came out of it with a gun. He was looking at armed burglary of a home, which was a mandatory prison case here in the state of Florida. He's 17 years old. And when I got the case, his parents called me right after he got arrested. And we started taking a look at the situation. The state attorney's office was about to file adult charges on this kid. And we were able to step in, explain to the state attorney's office all the good things about the kid. Stupid day with his buddies, okay? Nobody got hurt, but really stupid behavior, okay? But once we were able to fill in the state attorney about all the other good things about this kid and all of the future things he had going on for himself as far as education and jobs and all this type of stuff, we were able to keep the case out of adult court, which is a major win,
Awesome.
and kept him out of prison as well. So that felt really good. I mean, he definitely did what he was accused of, but we were able to make sure that whatever penalty he was going to get was fair and just based upon all the circumstances, including his age and lack of a record. So it really worked out well. He escaped a felony conviction, an adult conviction. None of that's on his record. So it really gave him a chance to get on with his life.
And I'd like to say for the listeners, because, people love to beat up on lawyers or whatever, but the fact of the matter is you saw something in him. I know you.
Yeah.
You didn't just go after this because you were making money off of it or whatever. You saw something in him, and you saw that he was young and that he had his entire life ahead of him, I would imagine.
And actually had plans and had a family behind him and had support, had a mother and a father and a sister, had people there.
Awesome.
And he grew up in a good home. I mean, there was a lot of good things working for him. He had one really dumb day, and we made some really dumb decisions, but you don't necessarily want that one day to define the kid's life for the rest of his life. So
That's perfect. Well, we change. I
Yep.
mean, I noticed that doing prison ministry, maturity comes later. And those guys that I ministered to, they might have been there 30 years.
Yeah.
Or they had 30 years ahead of them, and their life was ruined. And so they'll tell these young guys when they come in, especially if they're only there for a year or something of that nature, they kind of counsel them.
yeah.
Because they've matured from the time that they made their mistake. They're different people now, but they're still living on the mistake. They're stuck with it. And that's hard because you only have one life.
Yeah.
We pass through here and then that's it. So that's
And
crazy.
so much of it can change with just one bad day or one bad decision, a dumb decision.
Do you keep in
desperate
touch with him? Do you see his successes? and
Still
all
talk to him.
of
He
that?
runs a small business here in Pinellas County.
Awesome.
Yep. I still talk to his parents. He's got a little boy now. So he's, he made it. Okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks to you, because he would have been sitting with that record. I have a friend who he sends me a text every day. I got to minister to him, and he ended up at our church just by chance. He's from the area, got out. And every day he sends me a text with a little prayer and, a godly saying that he makes. And I said, man, you don't have to do that. And he goes, no, you don't understand what you did. And I said, well, okay, I 21 years and whatever, but it's a blessing to see that. Don't get me wrong. I was lied to as well. It's prison.
It happens, yep.
Yeah. But it was good to see that. And he's now working for a landscape company, and he's a management of a team that goes out and they do big projects, and he's doing really well. So
It's nice
I'm
to hear.
excited.
Some people turn the corner. Some people,
Go back.
both happen.
I don't know what the numbers are now. When I was doing it, recidivism rate was like 85%.
It's high. It is.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah.
I don't know what the exact number is now, but every number I've ever seen is high. It's around that 80-something% number, which is a shame. But
Well, let's talk about your firm. We're going to go into business a little bit. For all my business owners that are listening, I think there's somebody else out there other than my mom listening at this point.
I hope so.
There is. There is. All right. What are a few key, well, before we do that, tell us this. Tell me we'll do it. What are a few key legal areas they should stay on top of to protect their business for a small owner?
Yeah, if you're running a small business, you need to make sure, I would make sure how you're incorporated or not incorporated, what your business entity is, okay? Because the different ways that you structure that can protect you personally, legally, okay? The basic example is if you own a small business, if you can incorporate that business, then if, God forbid, your business is sued, your personal assets can be protected. So what your structure is really important, I think. And then the other thing to make sure of, too, is make sure you take care of your proper insurances, okay? Insurance can be a real pain, okay, to deal with, and it can be expensive, too, but it's worth having. If you run a small business with a bunch of vehicles that are involved, make sure every vehicle is properly registered, make sure every vehicle is properly insured. You can get a group rate, for lack of a better term, for a bunch of commercial vehicles, but you better do it.
Right.
And then if you have a standalone building where you have your business like here, okay, you need to make sure you've got your premises liability insurance taken care of. So if anything does happen on that property, You're covered, your business is covered, and your personal assets can be covered.
And just to double back, I got all of that covered, and it all came from a member of Network Professionals.
There you go.
So back to the networking again. Not only do we get business, it's also a resource.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Moorman Photographics is fully licensed, fully insured. I have anywhere, anytime insurance, but I also have anywhere, anytime liability. So if I go to one of the big venues, Don Cesar, Vinoy Hotel, one of the, St. Pete Yacht Club or whatever, I can show them that I'm insured and covered with a writer at their location.
And they like that too. They
Absolutely.
love seeing that. So.
Well, what a lot of folks don't know about professional photography, I no longer do weddings. I did so many weddings that I just had to stop after 500 Saturdays, late at night and all of that. I threw in the towel, although I loved it. I still miss it, but I don't miss.
Well, you might have to come out if my kids ever get married. You might have to come out and do it.
I would do that.
I think you'd have to actually.
So I would. I certainly would. I would hire one of the young guys to do the long part, and I would do all the beauty shots.
There you
and
go.
Go sit down. But anyhow, that's important to have that. What we do is at the beginning of the season for events, I just automatically get those riders from my insurance company. They come back in a day.
Yeah.
And I scan them and I send them to every single venue, whether I know I'm going there or not, because then I'm on file and they'll refer me.
Yep.
Most of those places have a referral list, but I don't like their referral lists. It's not relationship built. They actually pay to be on that list. Mm-hmm. I don't want you to refer me because I paid you $1,000 to work at the Don Cesar. I want you to refer me because I treat your clients the same, as if they're my own, because they are. And that also, they know they can trust us and we're going to dress properly and act appropriately and do our job and produce a final product the clients are going to be pleased with. So I always stayed away from that whole referral list, pay to be on it thing. Always bothered me. But if I send them that document, I'm in their files.
Yep.
And they know we're there and they know we're covered. So I do a lot of that.
And I'm telling you, they love seeing the fact that you have that coverage already in place.
So you mentioned that. How can we prepare? And you said that. Is there any other obscure kind of strange insurance you think someone should have in business?
Another thing that I tell people about, if you have assets personally to protect, you can also get what's called an umbrella policy, which stands over top of all your other policies.
I have that.
Good to have as well. Just another piece of safety insurance out there. So if something catastrophic happens, that umbrella coverage, you'll have all your normal coverages, and then on top of that, another $1 million of coverage over your other insurances. It's good to have.
Cool. That makes sense. And we have it because of that. And there's so many photographers right now that kind of enter the industry in the back door. I started that way as well. You fall in love with the craft, you buy a camera, you're fascinated by the art of it. And then they photograph their neighbor's kids and then somebody's small backyard wedding. And next thing you know, everybody's telling them they're so awesome and now they're doing it. But you really need a business license and all of those insurances and a tax ID number.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think it might have changed, but I think it's $2,000. So if you make 2001, you're illegally operating your business.
Yeah, I think that's still the number, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
So somewhere in there. So you've got to get those things in order. And besides that, it makes yourself more marketable.
Oh, yeah. Having a plan is really important to run a small business, especially on the front end. And then keeping in mind, finances. I know all kinds of lawyers who start out with their own practice or a group of people in a practice, and they're spending money left and right without a plan, on credit, buying everything they could possibly think of. And it's fun to have all that stuff. It is.
Right.
But if you can't pay for it, and it sounds so old-fashioned. I'm not that old, but at the same time, it really does make a difference. If you can't, especially when you're starting a business, if you can't pay for it in cash, don't buy it.
Okay.
That's what I tell young lawyers. That's what an older lawyer told me 25 years ago when I was starting my own little firm. He said, if you can't afford to write a check for it, then don't get it yet.
Wait.
Yeah, wait until you can.
I'm the same with equipment. A lot of photographers chase after the brand new camera. If my file is big enough to satisfy what my clients are doing, it doesn't matter if the camera is 5 years old, 8 years old, or 4 days old.
Yep.
But I don't go out and buy the latest and greatest. My hobby photographer friends, they know everything about every camera that's out there. And hey, what do you think of this? The Nikon, blah, blah, and whatever. And I say, I have no idea. When my camera breaks, then I'll buy the latest and greatest. And that might be 5 years from now. So I just really don't look. My mentor used to point at his back pocket and say, I want to keep my money right here. And he ran a successful studio, Thomas Bruce Studios here in town.
Yep, I remember it.
And it's still here. And my good friend Carol owns it as well. And so she's still in business. And we work together, oddly enough.
I think they did my first passport photo like 25 years ago.
Oh,
before I knew you.
Yeah, I believe that. I might have even sent them to you because I had done passports. They've managed to do well with that, but I found myself coming back from a $4,000 or $5,000 commercial job, rushing to the studio for a $25 passport.
Doesn't work.
And so at some point I thought, okay, this isn't going to happen. So we just pulled that out.
Moorman Photographics, where every click captures the essence of life's most precious moments. Our studio stands as a beacon of creativity and professionalism, offering a myriad of services tailored to your every photographic need. Whether you seek a studio portrait or the allure of on-location sessions in the Tampa and St. Petersburg waterfronts or lush parks, we bring your vision to life with creativity and professionalism. Corporate headshots, we excel at those too, providing impeccable quality whether in the studio or at your corporate headquarters. Need portraits for a large team or event? We orchestrate seamless setups for groups or individuals. But our expertise doesn't stop there. From high-end school portraits to photo restoration, from pet portraits to product images, our portfolio spans the spectrum of photographic artistry. Led by professionals with degrees in both photography and fine art, our team is dedicated to exceeding your expectations with every frame. Step into our studio where creativity knows no bounds. Contact us to book your session today at moormanphoto.com.
All right, I want to talk a little bit, and you talk about as much as you're comfortable with.
Okay.
So Moorman Photo has done corporate headshots for you
Yes.
and for your family.
Yep.
And, of course, your children's portraits growing up. Group photos of all of you. Sometimes it's just the kids and so on. You have hired us to document legal situations.
Yep.
So someone that was, and won't talk of names again, but I remember a motorcycle accident person, and the insurance company wasn't going to pay. You got those images, and you had told me within 3 days the money started coming in.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that one, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that poor guy. We talked for a long time.
I remember his name. I won't say it, but I remember his name now.
Good for you. Okay. Yeah, he was a good guy, and being I used to do missionary work in prison. I never told you this, but I got to hang out with him a little bit, not long, prayed with him and told him it's going to be okay, and I really felt that. And so we had a little bonding moment there. I never saw him again after that, but I think it was comforting for him.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, he was hurting pretty bad, and it wasn't his fault. Yeah, so
A car turned in front of him. He did nothing wrong, and he hit that car, broadside, went over the vehicle, went 100 feet on the concrete. He was in bad shape.
Okay, anybody? I've got a Kawasaki Vulcan 500 for sale if you're interested.
It won't be me.
No, I know. They are very dangerous. I like to ride in a group. I will say when you ride with the guys, you're undulating together as a larger...
It looks like fun. It looks like a lot of fun. I'm too scared of it at this point.
I don't recommend buying it or trying it or even just going around the block because it's addictive.
Yeah.
It is, and that's the problem with it. So anyhow, that's the whole thing. How can small businesses prepare before they need an attorney? So you mentioned all of the insurance. What about other things? What about maybe walking the property and look for liabilities? I do that at Sunburst on a
Yeah, that's smart to do too. If you own a business and you've got a standalone building or property, you are on the hook for dangerous conditions on that property. Okay, that you either knew of or should have known about.
Right.
And when they say should have, it's things that you would see if you walk the property. So if you've got something like that on your property, you've got to be careful with it. You've got to make sure you can fix it if you can. If it's not fixable, it's a hole in the ground. Okay, put up a sign, put up something that warns people of it. Mm-hmm. Okay, those are things you really, really need to do because they will come back and bite you. They will.
At Sunburst is 21 acres of RV park. It's a beautiful place.
I've seen the pictures, yeah.
Thanks. The liability for me that always fears me is the 2 swimming pools.
And they should. That should scare you.
Everybody loves them, but at night they're to be locked. We double lock them. And so when I'm there, I always walk the grounds, look for potholes, look for problems, concerns, issues, not only to make the park look clean and beautified, but also safe. And to make sure the people I'm paying to do that are actually doing it, if that makes sense. Because they have a downline. Their office is in another state. They hire a manager. They come on the grounds. They hire their employees. So are they actually doing it? So I go and I look and I walk the grounds and I leave a list on the way out the door and send it to their boss at the same time. And I say, look, I'm coming back in 4 weeks. This better be handled.
And that's good to do that because you would be the one on the hook ultimately. So.
That's right. Ultimately, it's in my lap, which is why, because they would always ask the management company, why are you so involved? I said, because at the end of the day, it's me.
Yeah.
I'm the one on the burner if something happens. So I wanted to.
Yeah, the management company would probably have a policy of insurance as well, but you would be the main target if something happened.
Yeah.
That's just the way that goes.
So back to where we were. I'm so ADHD, we got off track. Literally, by the way, I'm not picking on anybody. I actually am. So you have a wife. Her name is Kathy. Share as much as you're comfortable with. Sure. She's moved up in life, and our photography studio helped photograph her to campaign for what she needed. And I was going through all this in my head because this podcast was coming up. So who's Kathy?
Kathy McKyton. We were married in 98, September of 98. She is a attorney. She's also a county court judge. She was elected to the bench in August of 2012. She took the bench in January of 2013. She's been a judge ever since. She's very good at her job. Very attentive, very on top of everything. Very detail-oriented. I can't appear in front of her, but I have plenty of friends that do, and they tell me she is on her game, and you better be on yours as well. But she's also really fair with people. She'll listen to them. She's empathetic, and she sees a lot of the stuff over and over and over and over again. DUIs and people making bad decisions and some drug cases and theft. And you see an awful lot of that as a county court judge, but she's been able to maintain a good viewpoint on it and stay as positive as she can and try to work with people to try to even just a little bit improve their situation. So it's good to see. So
and it's got to be wearing after a while to see this, even though it's a different face, same crime, same mistake. And I think deep down inside you would think, people, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's out of love, not out of any, it's like, stop. Why are you making these decisions?
Yeah, it would be. For my personality, it would be tough to do that job. I don't think I could do that over and over again and deal with a lot of that same stuff. I mean, one of the things I actually like as a lawyer is a lot of my stuff is different. There's not a whole lot of cookie cutter stuff. I mean, one case will look like this and it's easy, and the next case is, oh my God, this is a headache. And there's all kinds of different pieces to it and different ideas to it. So I don't know that I could do her job, which is fine. She does it very well. So
right. That's awesome. I've been blessed to be in the courtroom as a photographer. Recently, for positive things, we photographed naturalization ceremonies.
Oh, that's good.
And, the judges love it because it's a happy affair.
Yep.
And so we're working for, let's hope I get this right, the United States District Court Middle District of Florida, which is in Tampa. And they have been a blessing to us with doing these. They're not allowed to bring their phones in for security reasons, so they have a professional photographer there to document the event. They get a picture with the judge holding their citizenship.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And all. Yeah, it's neat, but it's still a court hearing. So, all rise and all the ceremonial things that go with that. But I will say all the judges have been absolutely phenomenal to work with. They're just very professional, on the ball. Some of them email us personally and ask for things or whatever. And it's been a great group to be a part of. Yeah,
in federal court, which is where you're at with that kind of stuff,
okay.
Those naturalization ceremonies are like the happiest thing you can do in federal court, I think. In state court, probably the happiest thing you can do is adoption ceremonies where kids are legally adopted. They have a mom and dad now. That's really a neat thing to see too. So
that would be really cool to see.
It's fun. You can always tell if you go to the courthouse up on 49th Street, you can walk around there and see a lot of unhappiness, okay?
Yeah.
There's people who have gotten in trouble or family members that are sitting in jail, whatever it might be. But every now and then you see little pockets of little families all dressed up and little kids dressed up. You can see which courtroom they're headed into. They're headed into for an adoption ceremony where they're legally going to be adopted, and the judge is going to bang the gavel and say, these are your parents now. And that's kind of a cool thing. You can always see those families because they're so excited and happy and looking good, and it's neat to see.
So it's a positive start
Yes.
to a bad story, and now it's changed, and life is moving on. That's really cool. Well, I wanted you to mention Kathy because I know, like me, the smartest part of my marriage is my wife.
Yeah, and she is with me too. I don't always admit that, but it's true. And it's funny too. I had forgotten. You did do all the photos of the kids from the time they were babies until high school graduation, even some after that.
A little bit after,
A little bit after. It's hard to get them to sit still for
all the kids in our lives as photographers hit a certain age, and then it's done.
But you did do all the photography as well for her campaign back in 2012. I forgot about that. Yeah, which was good stuff too. So, and we used that stuff on all the campaign flyers and the handouts, and God, I'd forgotten all about that stuff.
And I scoured your website just to kind of refresh, and I saw the video that was produced by Moorman Photo.
That's right.
I brought on a videographer. I produced it, made sure it happened, and you're using it still to this day, and it still held up. I looked at it and I went, this, because you don't age. You look exactly the same.
It's going to catch up to me eventually. I can feel it. So
I had hair when you first met me, and now there's none.
Yes, you did.
But anyhow, so one other final thing then. What do you do to have family balance? You know, you have a professional life that's probably very demanding, but you have kids. Kids are kids, right? They go through all these things in life. You hold their hand through it. Now they're kind of launching on their own, their college and whatever, but it's all still something you're a part of very much so, because I know your family. Work-life balance for me is hard. It just is. How are you doing it?
I think a big part of it was Kathy. Kathy would make sure I didn't miss things.
Okay.
Which was good. I have a tendency to get really wrapped up in things and really focused, and I could spend hours and hours and hours working on God knows what for a particular case or a client. And she was always good to make sure, hey, dummy, you got to be here and you got to show up for this. And that was really important. I think philosophically, I've thought about this. The best thing I think you can do as a parent is just try to be around. Okay, we're all I've made plenty of mistakes as a father. I could give you the list. But one thing I was pretty good at it is at least showing up for the baseball practice, or showing up for my daughter's dive meets, or making sure you make it to the school ceremony, or whatever it might be. At least showing up for stuff. Again, messed up plenty of other stuff, but at least show up. If you can at least do that, I think you can do at least a pretty good job for your kids.
And I think that in your kids' future, they're there. That's what gives strength to your family and lets them know that you actually care, and that they can always turn back to you in life, no matter what happens, good or bad.
And that's tricky too, because with them being in their 20s, I mean, they don't want to rely on mom and dad for anything.
No.
They want to be able to do it themselves and be independent, and that's great. It really is. But at the same time, you want to make sure I try to make sure anyway, communicate that we're available for you. If you need something, please, let us know. We'll try to help.
So paths change. Won't mention the kids' names, but what kind of journeys are they on right now?
Well, I'll mention their names.
Go
my
ahead.
daughter, Katie, is a senior, fourth-year student at Georgia Tech University in Atlanta. She is a biomedical engineering student. She'll graduate in May. Straight A student, fantastic student, all through high school and college. And then she'll either go to grad school after that, or she'll possibly go work for a big pharmaceutical company designing prosthetics, things like that.
I love it.
Limbs, things like that.
How can you not boast on that?
That's pretty big stuff.
Yeah.
And then my son's doing big stuff too. He was a finance major at Emory University in Atlanta, which is a fantastic school, tough to get into. And he is now working in New York City, in Manhattan, in the big city. Yeah.
Okay.
Working for a consulting company that provides financial consulting services for businesses. And he does a lot of that. They fly him all over the country doing that kind of stuff, which is pretty interesting too.
I saw Kathy was in New York with him
Yep.
on social media, and so that's why he's there. She
Yep.
went out.
He's been there now since July of 24.
Oh, he's been there a while. Okay, very good. Shows you how much I keep up. See?
No, it's interesting. And he loves it up there. He really does, and he navigates the city really well.
Don't I? I think I recall that high school age he was into debating.
Yeah,
So what was it like raising a debater?
that was interesting. He was really good at it, and we were flying around different places in the country to do debate tournaments.
I
and stuff
remember
like
that,
We went to Minneapolis, Nebraska one time, Atlanta, Boston, a bunch of different places. Yeah, and he was really good. He plenty of things he placed in or had really good results in. And he was very good at it too. And he was funny, especially as a high school student. He could focus on any type of like academic issue and figure it out. I mean, he took legal concepts that took me probably years to figure. I'm not kidding about this. And he would read about it just because he was curious about it.
Love it.
And he'd come back and explain it to me. I'm like, geez, and he could do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little bit of both of you.
I guess.
Mom and
yeah.
dad coming together in one place. That's incredible. Well, I've always watched them grow up, as you know, and it's always near and dear. I'm not a creeper by any means, but the kids that we get close to, we do watch. Even the school portraits, we see the kids from kindergarten through 8th grade, and we see them more than once. You have fall and spring and all the sports that we photograph at the different schools and whatever. And so you really get to know them, and you find yourself cheering them on. And I know they're troublemakers, and some of them I know their parents or their grandparents, and they don't know that until I use their name. Sit down. How'd you know my name?
Yeah, that's good stuff.
All right. Well, that's good. What keeps you passionate? So you've been doing it a long time. It's fascinating, but your work is strong. What is it that, makes you drive forward now?
It's interesting. I keep finding interesting things to get involved with. If I had to keep doing the exact same thing over and over again, I probably wouldn't be happy. But a bunch of different types of cases, different areas of the law within my specialty, has kind of kept it interesting for me, and made me want to keep doing it. So
awesome. And do you have mentors? Do you bring lawyers in? And
I do.
Okay.
There's a couple lawyers I have either worked for or worked with in the past, who every now and then when I've got something I can't figure out, I'll call one of them and just bounce it off of them and say, what am I seeing here? What am I missing? What do you think? And there's been times where they say, you got a great case, do X, Y, and Z, you're in great shape. There's been a couple times they said, get out of that thing. It's a problem. You can't win that one.
Right.
Cut your losses and get out. I've heard that too. So it's good to have somebody you can bounce some of these ideas off of.
Mentorship is important. Just to give it a plug, we're members as photographers as TAPA, T-A-P-P-A, the Tampa Area Professional Photo Association. It's a mouthful, tapa.org. And without that group, I wouldn't survive. Yeah. When we go in and do big schools, I need other photographers. I can't photograph them all myself. I bring in these folks. They work under my name. There's one person in town. We don't charge each other. I just go out and help her with her 2 schools. She helps me on the 2 big ones where I need that. And it cancels because we found we were passing the same check, theoretically speaking, back and forth. This is silly. Let's just...
Yeah.
And we team up. And then the National Association is pretty awesome. PPA, Professional Photographers of America. I've been a member of all of those. There's a national and then the Florida photographers and then a local guild. And I'm active in all 3 and have been. I don't know how many seminars I've attended. And I'm going to toot my own horn. It hasn't happened yet, but I will be receiving at convention in January in Nashville. So we get to get in some good music while we're there.
Nashville's fun.
Yeah, I love Nashville. I love music. But I will be receiving my Master's of Photography. So you do that by teaching, speaking, serving, volunteering, and entering a really hardcore photo competition. Wow. So it's not like your state fair competition. It's very different. And you win all these awards. I should have had it years ago, but when my father passed, I was settling his estate, and I kind of just let it go for 10 years. And then as soon as I had a moment, I jumped in, and I don't know, Tina went online and looked me up on the PPA website to see where my accolades were. And she goes, you're only 2 print merits away. And the images I had did really well at state. See, the idea is you enter them at local, talk to your mentors, make the changes, try it at state. And then if it does well at state, then you put it at nationals. Well, I had merited 3, and I said, okay, I've got to at least get 2 out of this. And so I get to walk on the big stage in front of thousands of people.
Oh, that'll be fun. That sounds good.
Yeah. I don't brag about it much. I'm in photography for the people. I've been doing this a long time. When I was young, it was a desire, but now I love people, and this is a service I can provide to hopefully either enhance their life if it's like a family portrait, or further their business somehow with what we do. And I like doing that. That, for me, is important. All right, so we have a lot of young business entrepreneurs, if you will. So what's one thing you wish you'd know when you first started your firm? What would it say to, those that are scared and, all that?
As a lawyer, I would tell you it's okay to say no to some stuff. I can remember, I still struggle with this sometimes, but I took cases that I shouldn't have taken. Either they didn't pay well enough for the amount of work that was needed, or wasn't necessarily in your specialty, whatever it might be. You can say no to some of the stuff. There are some cases you shouldn't touch. They're not worth it. There are some clients that aren't worth the trouble. Okay.
Been there.
And when I was, especially when I was starting my own place, it was hard for me to say no. I was thinking big picture. I was thinking I've got kids and a mortgage and everything else I got to pay for. I can't say no to stuff. I better take it all. I wish if I could go back, I would tell myself, don't be afraid to say no to a few things.
So just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's one other thing. It happens in our industry a lot. Is a new photographer will undercharge.
Yeah.
Maybe because they're unaware of what industry standards are, because they're not in the associations we're in, or they just feel like they have to do it. But what I found was, because I did it, I undercharged.
I did it too when I was young.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a hamster wheel.
Yep.
I do all this work and realize, God, I just made $4 an hour.
Yes,
right?
I've been there.
And I was like, okay, I won't do that again.
Yep.
And so, yes, I would rather charge more, spend more time with each individual client, provide a high quality service. That doesn't mean we're perfect. Have we ever made mistakes? Of course we have.
Sure.
We try to catch them before they go out the door.
Yep.
If I can do that, then the client doesn't know. But if it does get out the door, or it gets past us, or there's some misunderstanding, I will fix it.
Yep.
And I've learned, and I don't know how you feel, but I've learned sometimes you win by losing.
Yep.
Okay.
I can give you examples of that too. If you make a mistake, don't be afraid to say, got this one wrong, and then fix it. Sometimes that's refunding money to a client. Sometimes it's taking a little something extra on to fix the problem. Don't be afraid to do it. I mean, people do make mistakes. Almost everything is fixable. Almost everything, if you just take the time to do it. I've seen plenty of lawyers don't want to admit the mistake, and they exacerbate the problem. Now the client's really upset. Now they're calling the Florida bar, whatever it might be. Don't get into that situation. You make a mistake, even if it costs you a little bit of money, fix it. It's worth it. The client will like the fact that you did that to fix the problem that you didn't see, or maybe you caused, whatever it might be. So
I always try to refund if I can, and I'll give them their images. I'll do everything, to the point where most of them still refer us and or still come in after that. I did have one lady, I was listening to Anthony Robbins, and he talked about in a heated situation, you change the subject by doing something awkward. At this point, the problem was over. I've never told this out loud, and here I am recording. This lady calls me, and she's just carrying on. My pictures aren't good enough for my dog, and she had my wife crying, Tina, who works here, and this whole thing. And I don't know what came over me. It was a long day. I had been busy. So I do this thing where I bark, and it makes kids smile behind the camera. So I started barking on the phone because it was already done. And no, I don't recommend this. But after about a half a minute in, we're both belly laughing. And do you know that she went home with that image, loved it, and everything was fine. And come to find out, it wasn't me. She didn't like her hairstyle. But she had gone to the hairstylist just before she came to my studio. So I'm taking the brunt of what she... I didn't pay the hairstylist. She did. So I told her, I said, if you had told me, I would have just redone your session for you. You make another appointment with him or her and get your hair done and come back in. Yeah. And we'll redo it. And I wouldn't have charged her a dime, but I think she was just mad. So barking, what do you think? Probably not a good idea, but I did it.
It worked. I mean, whatever works. If it changed the subject, if it calmed her down, then it's probably worth it. So
I guess I probably wouldn't do that again. That was a long time ago, thankfully. Well, we've got to start wrapping it up. So I'm going to get into the questions. They were written by a gentleman named Bernard Pivot, whom I actually don't know much about. And then James Lipton carried them on the Inside the Actors Studio show. And I fell in love with these questions. I took one out because one of them is, what's your favorite curse word? But I didn't want the explicit sticker on my podcast, so I took it out.
I do remember that's one of his questions.
Yeah, it was. So, Rich, we can have fun with this. Relax, shake it off. All the serious stuff is mostly over. What's your favorite word?
I can say this unequivocally. My favorite word is leverage.
Ooh, that's the first time I've gotten that one.
Yep. And I tell people I love that word. It works in business. It works in the legal field. It works in relationships, disputes, whatever it might be. One side probably has leverage over the other. Understanding that and understanding who has it
Right.
can fix a problem.
And I think what gives you leverage, is many different things.
Yep.
So when you're looking for it, when I'm trying to sell my services to someone, it goes better if I know someone in the organization, always. So that's my leverage.
That's exactly right.
To open the door to be able to at least talk.
Yep.
And see if we can't get in there. And it's a warmed up lead in many ways. So I would see that in a sales position as leverage. For you, it'd be a case.
Yeah.
Like
could
you
be.
see a big loophole and then, hey, this is where,
Yep.
okay. So what's your least favorite word?
That's a tough one for me. I don't like the word mistake.
Okay.
I always feel like mistakes are, when you use the word mistake, a lot of times I feel like it's an excuse. A lot of things we do,
Yeah.
they're choices. Maybe it's a bad choice, So I don't necessarily, it's probably not my least favorite word, but that's the least favorite word I can think of right now.
So if someone's in a case situation, mistake is probably an excuse. Now,
A lot of times, yeah.
Maybe I made a mistake, left the studio and left the back door unlocked when I left. That's a mistake.
Yeah.
But when you did something and you say it was a mistake,
I guess the misuse of that word is what bothers me.
yeah, I like that. I never thought of it. That's why I put it out there. All right, in life, what turns you on?
Let's see. Seeing my kids excel, I like that. It makes me feel really
love
good.
that.
I like seeing other people too who are really good at something. Some people, they see other people doing really well and they get jealous of it or they're making money or whatever it might be. I actually like that. I really enjoy seeing someone who's really good at something, excelling at it right in front of us. I think that's cool. I think it's fun.
And there's a lot to learn from them.
Yep.
That's what this podcast is about. How do we get there? How do we align ourselves? My goal with this is to bring people like yourself in, start at the beginning and work our way to the top, which I'm going to ask that question in a minute, just in closing. But the idea is you made efforts to position yourself.
Yeah.
And then you made efforts for schooling, although it doesn't, I'm just a vocational school guy, but I've got 30 years of business behind me. That was me aligning myself. It was time to quit goofing around and get busy. And I fell in love with the art of photography and decided to open a business. And here we are. And you did the same. And then you stepped out on your own. That's part of your story, right?
Yeah.
So you aligned. I love that. So let's see. You said that one. What sound or noise do you love?
Baseball stadium.
Oh,
Crowds,
cool.
bat hitting the ball.
All right, baseball man. I love it. This morning, the day of this recording, I photographed the opening day for the Kids and Cubs Softball League.
Nice.
So you know who they are, right?
Yep.
All right. For our listeners, the Kids and Cubs are in their, I think it's their 95th or 96th season.
It was something like that.
Yeah, they go back to the green bench days of St. Petersburg, Florida, and they are still playing ball today. And 22 years ago, two guys walked in kind of sweaty and smelly from the ball field, and they needed photos of the team and wanted to hire me. And I knew they didn't have a budget. And I said, I'll tell you what, give me a T-shirt that says Kids and Cubs on the front and photographer on the back, and I'll do it. That was 22 years ago. Wow. I'm still photographing their stuff, and I wouldn't have it any other way. They've changed my life by giving back to that community.
Hopefully they give you new T-shirts, though.
Yeah, I need a new one, actually.
Yeah.
It's time.
You deserve that.
All right. What sound or noise do you dislike?
This is going to sound silly, but I hate hearing car alarm go off. My car alarm, anyone's, it just drives me nuts.
It never fails. 5:30 in the morning. Yep. I get up to load the car because I'm heading out to a school to do whatever it is I need to do and get set up in the school and all of that. And I'll do something stupid and grab the car handle and the alarm goes off. Neighbors' lights are turning on and everything. It's embarrassing. Yeah. That, and even though I'm the user of a leaf blower, I really don't like the sound.
That's a good one, too. I don't like that either.
Yeah. I think people use them at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Don't turn it on at 7 in the morning on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you thinking? All right. What profession other than your own would you might like to attempt?
I would have liked to have been like a professional athlete, but there was no chance of that. Short of that, it's kind of embarrassing. Part of me wanted to be an actor way back when.
Oh, that's not embarrassing. That's cool.
And I never. Maybe I didn't want to do it enough to chase after it, but I always thought who knows? Maybe I could do something like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you do a little bit in the
There's a little bit of that, yeah.
And you dance around.
A little bit, yeah.
Do your song and dance to get people to see it. Okay. What profession would you not like to do?
Ooh, well, politics.
Me either.
Just pick anything in there.
Especially now.
It's gross. Yeah.
Especially now. And I mean, I have my thoughts and I never talk about them. I keep it quiet. But right now, I'm really disgusted with all of it.
Everybody.
Yeah,
I just can't
same.
stand any of them.
Same. I almost want to just be the guy in the middle at this point.
I wish we had more people in the middle. I don't care if you're left or you're right, but when I was a kid, I can remember people complaining about the politicians in Washington. They would complain that they made too many compromises. They met in the middle too much.
Yes.
You know? God, I wish we had that now.
But it was more peaceful.
It was, and meeting in the middle would be great, I think. Whether you're left or right, just find the middle ground. Neither side will like it completely, but at least you've got some kind of progress.
It's compromise.
Yes.
It's kind of like marriage.
It is.
Yeah.
And the whole government was set up on the idea of compromise.
Yes.
It wasn't my way or the highway. The entire thing is set up upon compromise. Let's just do that.
I agree. I'm with you on that.
That's all we'll say on politics.
Me too. Well, we just changed the whole world now.
There you
Podcast
go.
is over. Hopefully Washington's listening. So before I ask the last question, what was your very, very, very first job?
Paperboy.
I love it.
Delivered papers
All right.
for the Naples Daily News when I was in like 5th and 6th grade.
One of the things I've also noticed is those that have been on this podcast, I have two that are just getting started and everybody else has been in business a while, is they all started working early.
Yeah.
And learned the value and how to hustle and how to organize the delivery and get it done on time
Yeah.
and off to school or whatever it was you had to do right after that and keep it going. So I'm glad to hear that. My doctor, who's a nutritional doctor, concierge medicine and all of that, started at McDonald's.
There you go.
But her answer was, yeah, I learned all about workflow and customer relations and all of that and employee relations and all, the
The
whole...
sooner you learn about money and how to spend it and not spend it and keep it and allocate and all that kind of stuff, the sooner you can learn that, the better.
And size yourself up. And you don't have to be a multimillionaire, but if you're in society doing what you're doing and you're living an okay life, to me, that's key. All right. So before we wrap up, what's one takeaway you'd like every listener to remember about life and law, and where can people go to connect with you or learn more about your practice?
Well, if they want to learn about the practice of the office, website's probably the easiest way to do it, www.mckaytonlaw.com. Easy to find. There's a lot of information on there, a lot of what I do, a lot of what I've done in the past. And what was the other question?
What do you want to learn, how to connect with you, and also what do you want them to remember about law and life?
If I heard this the other day, there was a guy on the radio talking about, whether the grass is always greener somewhere else. And he said, it rang true for me, he said, don't try to be happier than happy. If you're happy where you're at, that's okay. You don't have to look for the next big thing or the next idea. If you're happy, don't try to be happier than happy. Just be happy if you can do that.
That's going to be the title of this podcast, possibly. I love it. That I've never heard that before, and it makes sense.
I just heard it recently, and I liked it. I was like, yeah, it does make sense. If you're happy with what you have, you don't have to make it necessarily better. If
pushing forward isn't negative, and being content is also not a negative thing. And the whole grow and grow over your shoulder are my grandparents that started the Moorman's Feed Corporation. Huh. It started in a barn in Quincy, Illinois, and grew to, I think it was 9 factories, don't quote me on that, across the nation. It's now owned by Archer Daniel Midland. They did 100 years of business, I think it was. And it all started from scratch, and they worked their way up. And they were the most honest people I ever knew. Their employees loved them. So I always get frustrated when I hear people talking about greedy corporations, and maybe 1 out of 20.
Yeah.
The rest of them are hardworking folks that are successful, and they deserve what they're getting paid. And how many jobs are they providing?
I was thinking the same thing.
All of that.
The corporate world gets a big beating, especially these days. They employ lots of people in lots of different areas, and they actually do pay a lot in taxes. Okay, we always hear they don't pay their fair share. I don't know. I know they pay a lot of money. Maybe they could pay more, I guess, but they pay a lot. So,
one final thing. So if someone finds themselves in need of your services, hopefully they're not in trouble, but if something happens, or if they just simply have a legal situation, maybe business or whatever it is, What's the best way for them? They can find you on the website. What steps do they need to take? And how can you squash their fears in calling you?
Really, the first thing to do is go ahead and call. The office number is 727-894-3159. I talk to people every day. Sometimes they really need my help. Other times, just have a question, we can fix it, easily. And they don't necessarily need to hire a lawyer, pay for a lawyer. Make that phone call. It's not going to hurt you.
And there's no commitment. So
No.
It's not like they're going to call and all of a sudden...
No, it's not going to cost them anything to have a conversation with me. So.
Reach up to your dashboard and turn the ticker on like a taxi driver, right?
No, it's not going to happen. I talk to people every day and I don't charge any money for it.
All right, Rich. Well, I'm going to do my closing. I'm so glad you're here. I'm grateful that you came in for your recent headshot and it inspired this guest visit on the podcast. So that's a good thing. As always, in networking and just in personal life, if you ever need anything, Tina and I are always here.
Yep.
Not just for business. It's always that way. So, guys, thank you for hanging out with us on the Camera Dude podcast. Remember, always reach out to those who've paved the way ahead of you. They are an incredible resource. Until next time, stay safe, be peaceful, and always look up for directions in life. Catch you on the next Camera Dude podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Camera Dude Podcast. Don't forget to visit us at cameradudepodcast.com for more episodes and exclusive content. Connect with Rob Moorman on moormanphoto.com to explore his professional photography. And when you're ready to hit the road, make memories at sunburstrvresort.com. Until next time, keep capturing moments and chasing dreams. See you on the next episode of the Camera Dude Podcast.